Kia ora, everyone. Quite a brightly backlit room today, just at Premier House. Just got back to Wellington after a day that started in Wellington with the usual media round in the morning, and then caucus, and then off to Koroneihana alongside Kingi Tuheitia and those who had come to Tūranga Waiwai to acknowledge that special moment in the calendar for Kingitanga. So that's where I was today, and look, it was a really a good hui. 3 speakers from each side, in which there was a discussion of all of the hard issues that we have to face as a nation. Issues like, for instance, what we can do to decrease the number of children going into care, what we can do to keep working together on issues like the overrepresentation of Māori in corrections, and on the issue of uhumātao, which I proactively intended to, of course, raise as well. And that was in order to acknowledge the role that Kingitanga has played, and the role of the king in coming in and seeking to lead and facilitate a process with mana whenua to find a solution. And as I said at the end of today, we as a government have really supported and respected the fact that Kingitanga has wanted to do that, and that is something that we still are supporting, and that process is ongoing. It's underway as we speak, and I want to let that process run its course. So that seems really important to us. Chantal, I've been asked a question a number of times around the issue of attendance at visiting uhumātao. I haven't visited yet, but I believe that I will in the future. But right now, I think the most important thing, and I've said this many, many times, and I'll keep saying it, I think the most important thing for those who have been there, for those who are seeking to find redress and a solution, ultimately the goal is the same, to find a way through that all of mana whenua support, and that finds a resolution. Me visiting actually isn't necessarily taking that conversation further. It could possibly detract from that process that's being led by Kingitanga. And so I want to respect that process. I want that for Māori by Māori solution be found. Now, that's not to say that we don't care about what's happening there. We absolutely do. That was why on the 26th of July we sat down with mana whenua alongside Fletcher's and helped broker the agreement that said there would not be any further construction on that site until there was a resolution. So we do have a role to play in helping to facilitate a solution, and we are playing it. As I said on the pai today, where there are hard conversations to be had, we will be there. That doesn't mean that I will always be the one who's sitting at the head of the table. We need to create the space. For instance, if Kingitanga come and said that we think we should lead the solution here, we need to create the space for that to happen. And so that's why I've taken that approach. Again, Beck, I hope you've heard that explanation there, that I've thought long and hard about why people might be seeking that specific visit, and if for me it's about finding a solution, then that is exactly what I am focused on supporting. So people will have their different opinions on that, but I can tell you there's absolutely a focus on us trying to help find a solution, and we're certainly not ignoring the issue. Today, though, I wanted to talk a little bit more about some of the other things that have been coming through. So the Commerce Commission has reported back on, presented some interim findings around the fuel market study, which we sought from them some time ago. I don't need to tell all of you because I've seen the feedback that's been coming through online. around people's views around what's been happening in the to petrol prices over a number of months. So from the very beginning of when I came into office, this has been a really big debate. And so we asked the Commerce Commission to go in and do a market study into the retail fuel sector, and they've come back with some findings, which I have to say my initial instinct some time ago, having dug into some of the pricing and some of the things that I was seeing obsessively as I watched fuel prices around the country, I've always had a view that New Zealanders were being fleeced at the pump. And I absolutely believe now, having seen the Commerce Commission's report, that endorses that view. What they have found is that as of March this year, New Zealand had the third highest pre-tax petrol prices in the OECD, the third highest. And that hasn't always been the case. Margins had been falling since the 1990s, but since 2008, they have doubled. So in the last 10 years, the margins that we've been seeing in the sector have doubled. And so the Commerce Commission had a little look abroad. So fuel companies' return on investment in New Zealand is what they consider to be double about what is reasonable, sitting at about 20%. When you compare that to overseas, again, as the Commerce Commissioner said, they consider it to be double what it should be. So the upshot is Kiwis are not getting a fair deal. Something needs to change. The Commerce Commission are going to spend until December looking at possible solutions. We stand ready. We're already doing a bit of work to try and get ahead of whatever they might recommend. But once they bring back their final findings, that will then be the opportunity for us to make sure that we've got it right. Mark, the point that we're questioning here, and happy to answer this as we've done before, around excise. Excise has been a part of our system from the last government to the current government. And the last edition, roughly around the 3 cents per litre, is obviously being outstripped by what is happening more broadly to fuel prices. So even if there was no excise increase, you could not guarantee by what's come out by the Commerce Commission that wouldn't simply get absorbed in higher price points for Kiwis at the pump anyway. And given the amount of fluctuation, and you've all seen it, the amount of fluctuation that you can see at any given time demonstrates if we want to fix the issue of high fuel prices in New Zealand, we need to get stuck into what the Commerce Commission has found, not just tinkering around the edges. And so that's what I wanted to just share, the findings there, which I think really are significant. So we'll be ready to go, I hope, come December when we get that extra final report from the Commerce Commission. People here posting around some of the differences I've seen where they see a gull or a waitomo, but it's actually equally one of the issues that's being identified is the lack of an active wholesale market as being an issue in New Zealand. All things that we need to get onto. But for now, I think it really vindicates what a lot of you have been telling me and what a lot of you are feeling. And now the next point is, once we get the final report, is doing then acting on it. Trying to read as we go some of the questions that are coming through. Tamara, again, just coming back to Humata, I don't see it as reneging on a responsibility when actually we need to find a way through that all mana whenua support. And so bringing people together around the table to do that, I think, is the outcome, the process that's most likely to deliver that outcome. So like I say, right there in those and around those conversations as are being had right now. But look, I know this won't be the end until we find a solution. This won't be the end of that discussion. But for those of you who wanted to hear about fuel, I hope I've covered that off for you as well as those who wanted to ask questions about Humata. So I hope I've done both. All right, everyone, I'm going to leave you to the rest of your evening. I'll drop in again sometime soon. Till then, I hope everyone has a a wonderful, wonderful week. And thanks everyone. Excuse my multitasking, using my head go up and down as I'm trying to read your comments as I go. Rest assured, I will get better at multitasking on these Facebook Lives. All right, I'll talk to you all soon. Good night.